They weren't just engines, they were mechanical monsters, machines so oversized they bent the rules of what a car could even be. Some were smooth as silk, like Cadillac's mighty V16. Others were brutal, like a Fiat so massive it took 2 men just to open the hood. These weren't engines built for efficiency, they were built to shock the world. And today, we're counting down the 10 largest engines ever put into old cars. Buckle up, because one of them was so absurd, it made actual aircraft engines look small. Number 10, Fiat S76. If we're talking about big engines, there's no better place to start than with a car nicknamed the Beast of Turin. Built in 1911, the Fiat S76 wasn't a practical car, it was a land speed record weapon. At its heart sat an insane 28.5-liter inline-4 engine. Yes, 4 cylinders the size of milk jugs. Each cylinder had a bore of 190 millimeters and a stroke of 250 millimeters, which is bigger than some modern motorcycle wheels. The result? Around 290 horsepower at just 1,400 RPM, a number that doesn't sound wild today, but was absolutely unthinkable at the time. Power was sent through a chain drive system, the kind you'd expect on a bicycle, not a car capable of hitting over 116 miles per hour. Driving it was so violent, flames would sometimes shoot from the exhaust, earning the car its beastly nickname. What makes the Fiat S76 even more fascinating is how it symbolized the engineering bravado of the era. Fiat built it specifically to beat German rivals like the Blitz and Benz, which had been terrorizing record books. Only 2 were ever made, and just 1 survives today. Whenever it runs, it doesn't just make noise, it makes the ground shake, reminding us that over a century ago, car makers were already chasing extremes. And while Fiat went all in with 4 comically large cylinders, another car maker decided to take the opposite approach. More cylinders, smaller size, and the smoothest ride you could buy. Number 9, Cadillac V16. While Fiat went for a bigger cylinders, fewer parts approach, Cadillac took a completely different route in 1930. More cylinders, ultimate smoothness. The Cadillac V16 wasn't the biggest by displacement, but it was legendary because of its sheer cylinder count. This engine was a 452 cubic inch 7.4 liter V16, the first of its kind in a production car. Essentially, Cadillac took 2 inline 8 engines, set them at a 45-degree angle, and merged them into one monstrous power plant. The result was about 185 horsepower, nearly double what most luxury cars offered at the time. But the real magic wasn't in raw power, it was in how it felt. Owners described the V16 as whisper quiet, with virtually no vibration. Cadillac even bragged that you could balance a nickel on the engine block while it was running. And it wouldn't fall over. That level of refinement was unheard of in the early 1930s, and it gave Cadillac the reputation of being the smoothest luxury car in the world. The V16 wasn't just an engine, it was a marketing weapon. At the height of the Great Depression, Cadillac wanted to show the world it still sat at the top of the luxury food chain. And while most Americans couldn't dream of affording one, the sight of a Cadillac V16 silently gliding past was enough to cement its place in automotive history. And Cadillac wasn't the only one chasing engine extremes in the luxury game. Across the Atlantic, Bugatti decided if you wanted to one-up Rolls-Royce, you needed something truly outrageous. Number 8, Bugatti Type 41 Royale. If Cadillac's V16 was about silent elegance, Bugatti's answer was pure overkill. Enter the Bugatti Type 41 Royale, built between 1926 and 1931. A car so massive, its engine was originally designed for airplanes. Under the hood sat a 12.7-liter straight 8, one of the largest engines ever fitted into a passenger car. To put that into perspective, that's about the same displacement as 3 modern Toyota Camry engines combined. The Royale's block was cast in a single piece of iron, with a bore of 125 millimeters and a stroke of 130 millimeters. Power output hovered around 275 to 300 horsepower, but the real story wasn't speed, it was size. The Royale needed 43 liters of coolant and 24 quarts of oil just to function. Even opening the hood required 2 people. But then again, this wasn't meant to be practical. Ettore Bugatti designed the Royale to one-up Rolls-Royce, creating what he believed was the ultimate symbol of wealth and status. Only 6 cars were ever built, and each one was a rolling palace with custom coachwork from Europe's finest designers. Ironically, most of them never found buyers. The Great Depression crushed the market for million-dollar toys, and Bugatti ended up stuck with several unsold cars. Today, though, the Royale is priceless. One example sold for millions at auction, making it one of the most valuable collector cars on Earth. And while Bugatti built engines the size of aircraft power plants across the ocean, Packard was quietly working on an engine that would set the standard for smooth American luxury in the 1910s. Number 7. Packard Twin 6. Long before Cadillac's V16 or Bugatti's Royale, Packard was already making headlines with an engine that sounded more like something from a battleship than a car. In 1916, they unveiled the Packard Twin 6, a 14.8-liter V12 that instantly set a new benchmark for luxury and performance in America. This wasn't just big for the sake of being big. With 12 cylinders firing in harmony, the Twin 6 produced a silky smooth 88 horsepower. That may not sound earth-shattering today, but at the time, most cars struggled to break 30. Packard's V12 made driving feel less like a chore and more like gliding on rails, giving wealthy buyers the kind of refinement they'd never experienced before. The engine was so advanced for its era that it influenced aviation design during World War I. Packard engineers adapted the same V12 concept into airplane engines, which powered US military aircraft. So in a way, the Packard Twin 6 wasn't just moving luxury cars, it was also shaping the future of aviation. On the road, the Twin 6 was a statement piece. Its smoothness, quiet operation, and reliability cemented Packard's reputation as a leader in high-end automobiles. And in an era where prestige mattered, owning one signaled you had arrived among the elite. But Packard wasn't alone in chasing prestige. Around the same time, Pierce-Arrow was rolling out its own oversized 6-cylinder engine that proved sometimes fewer cylinders could still make a powerful statement. Number 6. Pierce-Arrow. While Packard was dazzling the wealthy with 12 cylinders, rival Pierce-Arrow proved you didn't always need that many pistons to make a big impression. In the 1910s, Pierce-Arrow introduced its 8.6-liter inline 6, an engine that was massive for its time and perfectly suited to the brand's reputation for luxury. The Big 6 churned out around 48 horsepower, which might sound modest next to Packard's V12, but it was plenty for the era. What set it apart wasn't raw numbers, it was refinement. The engine used a T-head design with separate intake and exhaust valves on opposite sides of the cylinders, helping it run smoother and cooler than most competitors. Paired with a 4-speed transmission and advanced suspension for the time, Pierce-Arrow cars delivered a ride so comfortable that they became the choice of presidents and dignitaries. In fact, President William Howard Taft was chauffeured in a Pierce-Arrow, cementing the company's image as America's official luxury car maker. This combination of size, refinement, and prestige made Pierce-Arrow a household name in the early luxury market. But while American automakers were showing off their engineering muscle, over in Britain, Rolls-Royce was preparing a V12 that would push refinement and displacement to a whole new level. Number 5. Rolls-Royce Phantom 3. By the mid-1930s, Rolls-Royce wanted to remind the world why it was the ultimate name in luxury. Their answer was the Phantom 3, introduced in 1936, powered by a 7.3-liter V12, the largest engine Rolls-Royce would build until the late 1990s. Unlike the brute force approach of Fiat or Bugatti, this V12 was all about balance and sophistication. Made from aluminum alloy, it was shorter than the previous Phantom 2's straight 6, which meant a shorter hood and more cabin space for passengers. This clever design gave the Phantom 3 not only performance, but also elegance in proportions. The engine itself was inspired by Rolls-Royce's aviation experience, particularly the high-performance designs from Schneider trophy-winning aircraft. That heritage translated into smoothness, quiet operation, and effortless cruising power. With around 165 horsepower, the Phantom 3 could reach speeds that were remarkable for such a massive luxury saloon. But perhaps the most telling detail? Rolls-Royce never advertised horsepower figures. Instead, they famously claimed the Phantom 3 delivered adequate power. For Rolls-Royce, understatement was the ultimate flex. And while Rolls-Royce refined the art of understatement, Mercedes-Benz was going the opposite route, building a massive 7.7-liter engine for a car that would become infamous in world history. Number 4. Mercedes-Benz 770. If Rolls-Royce was about quiet elegance, Mercedes-Benz went for commanding presence. In the late 1930s, they unveiled the Mercedes-Benz 770, powered by a 7.7-liter inline-8 that gave the massive luxury car both speed and authority. With around 150 horsepower, the 770 wasn't just fast for its size, it was engineered to cruise effortlessly on Germany's new autobahns. Advanced suspension and robust construction made it one of the smoothest rides of its era, and its sheer bulk gave it a road presence few cars could match. much. But the 770 is remembered less for its engineering and more for its associations. This was the car favored by high-ranking officials and dignitaries of the time, including Adolf Hitler, who used the 770 as his parade vehicle. Its imposing design and powerful engine made it a rolling symbol of the regime, casting a long shadow over an otherwise remarkable machine. Despite that dark legacy, the 770 remains a significant piece of automotive history. It showcased Mercedes-Benz's ability to blend advanced engineering with luxury and performance at a time when the world was on the edge of war. And while Mercedes used their 7.7-liter giant for prestige and politics, across the Atlantic, Chrysler was cooking up a 7.0-liter engine that would dominate racetracks and muscle car culture for decades. Number 3. Chrysler Hemi 426. If Mercedes built their 7.7-liter for parades and prestige, Chrysler built theirs for pure speed. In 1964, they introduced the 426 Hemi V8, a 7.0-liter monster that became one of the most famous engines in American history. Its nickname, the Elephant. Not because it was slow, but because it was huge, heavy, and unbelievably powerful. The 426 featured hemispherical combustion chambers, a clever design that allowed for better airflow, more efficient combustion, and massive horsepower potential. Official ratings put it at 425 horsepower, though anyone who's been around muscle cars knows that number was a little modest. In reality, it could churn out much more, especially when tuned for racing. This wasn't just an engine for the street. The Hemi dominated NASCAR and drag racing, so much so that competitors complained it was too good. NASCAR even banned it temporarily in the mid-1960s until Chrysler agreed to make it available in production cars. That decision gave us legends like the Dodge Charger, Plymouth Barracuda, and Challenger RT, all powered by the Elephant. The Hemi's sheer size and power made it a muscle car icon, but it was also notoriously expensive to build. By the early 1970s, stricter emissions laws and rising insurance costs marked the end of the factory 426 Hemi. Yet today, it remains one of the most collectible engines ever made, often fetching six figures at auctions when paired with the right car. And if Chrysler's 7.0-liter wasn't big enough for you, Chevrolet had an answer. A 7.4-liter big block V8 that became a staple of American muscle. Number 2, Chevrolet 454 Big Block. If Chrysler's Hemi was the wild, race-bred outlaw of the muscle car world, Chevrolet's 454 Big Block was the dependable bruiser that just kept swinging. Introduced in 1970, the 7.4-liter V8 quickly became a legend in both street cars and trucks. The 454 came in several flavors, from mild versions and family sedans to high-performance variants like the LS6 found in the 1970 Chevelle SS. That LS6 was officially rated at 450 horsepower, making it one of the most powerful factory engines of the muscle car era. Even more impressive, the torque. Over 500 pound-feet, enough to turn tires into smoke with just a tap of the throttle. But the 454 wasn't just about quarter-mile dominance. It became a workhorse in trucks, Corvettes, and even vans. Owners loved its durability and brute force. Whether they were hauling trailers or roasting tires at the drag strip, the phrase big block Chevy practically became shorthand for American horsepower. Of course, the early 1970s brought new emissions laws and oil crises, which quickly tamed the 454's output. By the late 70s, the same engine that once thundered down drag strips was barely pushing 200 horsepower in some models. Still, enthusiasts never forgot its glory days, and today the 454 remains one of the most beloved big blocks ever built. And while Chevrolet's 7.4-liter monster became a muscle car icon, Cadillac was quietly building an even bigger engine, one that still holds the crown as the largest production V8 ever put in an American passenger car. Number 1, Cadillac 500 V8. If Chevy's 454 was big, Cadillac looked at it and said, "Hold my champagne." In 1970, they rolled out the 500 cubic inch V8. That's 8.2 liters, making it the largest displacement engine ever put in an American passenger car. At launch, this big block was rated at 400 horsepower and a staggering 550 pound-feet of torque, numbers that gave Cadillac's flagship Eldorado effortless performance. But the brilliance of the 500 wasn't just brute force, it was how smooth and quiet it was. Cadillac engineered it for luxury, so you could barely hear the thing working, even as it pushed 2.5 tons of car down the highway with ease. The 500 was essentially an enlarged version of Cadillac's earlier 472 V8, sharing the same architecture but stretched to the limit. It quickly earned a reputation for reliability, longevity, longevity, and it's when unrestricted, jaw-dropping torque. Unfortunately, just like the Chevy 454, emissions regulations and fuel crises in the mid-1970s forced Cadillac to detune the engine. By 1976, output had dropped below 200 horsepower, and the golden age of massive big blocks was coming to an end. Still, the Cadillac 500 remains a legend. To this day, it's remembered as the ultimate expression of Detroit's bigger is better philosophy, a time when automakers weren't afraid to go over the top just to prove they could.